As if hitting out of the bunker wasn't difficult enough for most players, I think actually what's even more difficult is knowing which club to use and how to determine the texture of the sand. We all know we can't make a practice swing in the sand, so you've got to be able to eyeball it, figure out if that's going to be hard packed sand, if it's going to be fluffy sand, then decide which tool you need and how to set the face once you set up. So in today's lesson, I'm going to go over all of that with you, show you how to look at the sand and figure it out, and how to pick which club, and how the wedges vary and help you with different types of sand texture. So now that my ball has landed in the bunker, how do I know what type of sand I'm dealing with? Well, first of all, the obvious answer is if you can, and there's a practice bunker at the course, always spend just a couple of minutes. It's only going to take 2 or 3 shots. Stop by that practice bunker, hit some shots, get a good feel for what kind of sand you're dealing with, especially if it's a new course that you've never played before. But if you didn't have an opportunity to do that, you know you can't come in here and take a practice swing. You can't kick the sand around with your feet or move it with the rake. So you've got to go by your eyes and by your feel. So when you walk into the bunker, you can usually feel if it's hard, like this bunker is, or if it's soft and you're sinking down into it. The next thing you can do is as you swivel your feet in a little bit, you're going to get a good feel for, am I sinking down deeper or am I staying up pretty high? On this bunker here, this is really hard. It's firm, there's not a lot of sand in it, and I feel like I'm staying up on top of the sand. I'm also going to just use my eyes, and I can see that there's some damp, wet spots here, and that it just doesn't look a lot of thick based on other footprints and ball marks. So once I've made the decision that, okay, this is a hard packed bunker, then I need to use the right wedge for that situation. And what I want to talk about for a minute is bounce, which is what the back edge of your club is called. On a typical sand wedge, you're going to have about 12 degrees of bounce. And what that means is that back edge, that bounce edge, is going to bounce through the sand. So on deep, fluffy sand, the opposite of this, I want that bounce so that I don't want that leading edge to get in and cut and dig. I want that bounce to help me cut right through the sand. On firmer packed sand like this, I don't want a lot of bounce because what's going to happen is I'm going to skip off the ground and blade the ball. So I want a club or a wedge with less bounce, and I'm going to use more of this front edge or the digging edge to hit this shot. So now that I've determined that I'm dealing with some harder, more firmly packed sand, and I've chosen the right wedge, which is my wedge with less bounce, my lob wedge here, I'm going to set up with a little bit more of a square face. Normally if this was fluffy sand, I'd open it up so that I could use the bounce more. With this, I want that front edge or digging edge going into the sand. So I'm just going to set the face a little bit more square, and I'm going to execute my normal bunker shot. So here's how it's done. And you can see I was able to cut down into the sand, dig up just enough by using that leading edge. It's simple and it works. And if you have a lesson idea, please send it to me in the Ask Maria section on mygolfinstructor.com.